Thank you very much for the opportunity to address this crowd and to speak at this extremely important event, which the European Union supports with full force. As my colleague from the UK already highlighted, I think South Sudan is at the moment finding itself in a situation where it needs help. It needs help from the neighbors. It needs help from the international community. I'm really pleased that we are coming together here today, and we are trying to provide that assistance. The EU has been actively involved in the launch of this process in the Kenyan-led mediation initiative, and we have been a formal observer of the process, and we maintain very close contact both with our Kenyan counterparts, with the other countries in the region, and with the international community, with the representatives of Troika and the others. For us, I think it's extremely important that the mediators, that this initiative is not trying to reinvent the wheel. We do have a framework in place, and it's important that that framework remains the starting point for continuation of this initiative. We're trying to revitalize the peace agreement of 2018, and it's important that it's an inclusive process, the civil society is engaged, and all the other actors are involved. For us, one of the key issues in the peace agreement was the delivery of the elections. Our colleague from the UK already spoke about this, and this still remains the target. A very important step for the transition of South Sudan. We're committed to working in that direction and to providing all our support. I thank you very much again, and I wish good luck to our colleagues from Kenya and to all the others. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Hammer. You have 3 minutes. As you make your way up, Ambassador Ware, the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, that have been the handmaidens to the revitalized agreement, will follow soon thereafter. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, Presidents of Kenya and South Sudan, distinguished delegations, international colleagues, all protocols observed. Let me also express condolences to the people of Kenya for the tragic flooding that has occurred in recent days. As the United States, we're pleased to be able to provide $1 million in USAID assistance, and we are sure Kenya will come back even stronger after these events. The United States applauds the leadership of His Excellency President William Ruto for agreeing to take on this mediation between the ARCSIS non-signatory parties and the government of South Sudan. As we prepare for President Ruto's state visit to Washington later this month, we recognize Kenya's vital role as a regional leader on peace building and security in East Africa. I would also like to commend the commitment of General Lazaro Zumbawo for his mediation efforts. We all remember what he did with the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, as well as my colleague, Ambassador Guyo, who I've had the pleasure of working with over the last couple of years to support peace in the region. We greatly appreciate being included in this mediation effort as observers and look forward to working with Kenya on yet another important regional peace-building effort. We share with partners in the region a set of fundamental priorities and values when it comes to South Sudan. First and foremost, peace. A full transition of South Sudan toward democracy, respect for human rights, and a government responsive to the needs of the South Sudanese people provide the best avenue towards sustained and durable peace in South Sudan. The United States, and I believe the international partners in this room, recognizes that the 2018 peace agreement has not been implemented, nor have the promises made following the 2022 extension and subsequent roadmap. We have been clear and will continue to urge the South Sudanese leaders live up to their responsibilities. We are confident that President Ruto and his mediating team can manage an inclusive process, one that reinvigorates the peace agreement and supports South Sudan in establishing a durable peace. The United States stands behind Kenya in this effort because we believe it presents an opportunity that the government and the non-signatories alike can and must seize. Without serious efforts by the government and peace agreement signatories to establish the conditions for lasting peace, as they promised in 2018, there remains far too great a risk of widespread violence and a return to civil war. Non-signatories also have this opportunity to demonstrate that they, too, are committed to peace. The region can ill afford further conflict, and the South Sudanese people who have waited far too long must see their aspirations met. In this vein, let me reiterate the United States position that allocating further financial resources for election preparations absent urgent action by the transitional government would send the wrong message. We will not support an electoral process that, without urgent action by the transitional government, would not be free, fair, or credible. For an electoral process to be credible, we must see the South Sudan government devoting its own resources to support the electoral institutions it has established. Let me close by restating the United States' steadfast commitment to working with partners like Kenya and regional institutions like IGAD and the African Union to advance peace and security in the Horn of Africa for the benefit of the peoples of the region. Thank you. Asante sana.
Thank you, Ambassador Hammer. My pleasure to invite Ambassador Mohamed Ouare.
His Excellency William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Salva Kiir, President of South Sudan, Prime Minister Hamza Barre, Prime Minister of the Government of Somalia, Ambassadors, Special Envoys, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely honored to be part of the official launch of the high-level mediation for South Sudan and deliver the statement of IGAD on behalf of our Executive Secretary, His Excellency Dr. Worqene Gebiyo. From the outset, I would like to thank President William Ruto for agreeing to host and mediate the high-level talks between government of Sudan and non-signatory groups, as well as availing the necessary resources and expertise for the talks. Kenya has an illustrious history in peacemaking in the region. It will be recalled that Kenya played a pivotal role in hosting and leading the IGAD mediation process that culminated in the signing of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement of January 2005 that paved the way for the independence of the Republic of South Sudan. And I might add also the Eldoret and Embagati peace processes that midwifed the Somalia transitional federal government. As a regional organization, IGAD is fully committed to support the efforts of His Excellency President Ruto and the Republic of Kenya, geared toward ensuring the inclusive and participatory completion of the South Sudan mediation talks. IGAD strongly believes that the 2018 peace agreement provides the general framework and avenues for addressing the concerns and demands of non-signatory groups. What is now required is to create the platform and a conducive environment to adequately and satisfactorily respond to these concerns and demands. It is therefore absolutely necessary that care must be taken that these talks must be conducted in conformity with the letter and spirit of the 2018 agreement. Despite multifaceted challenges and delays in the implementation, commendable progress has been made in the implementation of the 2018 peace agreement. The ceasefire is generally holding. A government of national unity has been formed and is functioning. The process of unification of forces, political reform, permanent constitutional arrangements, and financial and economic resource reforms have started and are ongoing. South Sudan, as a result, has been reaping the benefits of the peace dividends for the past 5 years. IGAD is, however, aware of the fact that implementation is facing challenges emanating from trust deficit among the parties in the agreement, lack of political will, and inadequate resourcing. Equally concerning is the absence of critical groups in the peace process, which undermines not only the sustainability of the peace agreement, but can also damage the unity and harmony of the people of South Sudan. In this regard, we members of the regional body and the international community have the collective responsibility to support this peace process to its conclusion. I would like to seize this opportunity to call on the heads of states and government, donors, groups of goodwill, to support this process financially, technically, and morally for its successful conclusion. Let me once again conclude by thanking His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, whose personal diplomacy and initiative brought us to this day and will ensure, with all our efforts and help, for the successful implementation of the mediation process for South Sudan. God bless you all.
Thank you, Ambassador Ware. Your Excellency, the reconstituted Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission has been monitoring the revitalized peace agreement's implementation. It is my pleasure to invite General Gitwai to give a snippet of the status. You're welcome, General.
Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit, President of the Republic of South Sudan and Chairperson of the East African Community, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government present here, Excellencies, Ambassadors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like, on behalf of the RJMEC, the official body that is mandated to oversee, monitor, and evaluate the implementation of the revitalized agreement on the dissolution of the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan, allow me to seize this opportunity to thank His Excellency Dr. Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, for accepting the request from His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit, President of the Republic of South Sudan, to mediate between the government of South Sudan and the non-signatory parties. This bold and decisive step, taken towards creating an opportunity for the government, the holdout groups, and the people of the Republic of South Sudan to dialogue and chart the way forward in a peaceful manner for their country in the IGAD region is commendable. Your Excellency, South Sudan has experienced a long period of conflict, and the success of the high-level mediation of South Sudan Nairobi process marks a significant step in laying the foundation towards achieving enduring peace and stability in the country. These talks should create a momentum for achieving inclusivity, build tolerance, reconciliation, and forgiveness, recognizing that having peace, justice, and strong institutions in a country promotes stability, fairness, and accountability, leading to sustainable development and a better quality of life for citizens. Therefore, peace in the Republic of South Sudan is paramount, not just for the South Sudanese people, but also for the shared security and prosperity of our region. RJMEC, as a commission mandated to monitor the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement, recognizes the role that IGAD heads of state and government, as guarantors of the peace agreement, have played thus far in responding to various issues concerning the implementation. The Revitalized and Government National Unity, which we call RTIGNU, was established by the agreement. I therefore take this opportunity to commend and hail the leadership of His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit, who has on many occasions stated that he shall not allow and he shall never allow South Sudan to go back to war again. I also wish to commend the parties to the agreement for their continued unity of purpose, ensuring the revitalized government stays the course of peace. In that respect, it is important to note that permanent ceasefire continues to hold between the parties in the agreement since the signing of the peace agreement in 2018, and South Sudan has now experienced 5.5 years of relative peace, despite sporadic skirmishes and communal fighting that continues to occur in several parts of the country. This relative peace, compared to previous years before 2018, is commendable. It's a commendable achievement and needs to be further consolidated. The South Sudan mediation process in Nairobi has the potential to further contribute to the consolidation of this peace in South Sudan. I thank you.
Thank you most kindly, General Gitwai. Your Excellency, there are two parties to this mediation. It is my pleasure to invite Pagan Amum to speak on behalf of SOMA. Your Excellency, Pagan Amum. Please.
Your Excellency, President William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency, President Salva Kiir Mayardit, President of the Republic of South Sudan, Your Excellencies, heads of states, and other guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the opposition movements and on behalf of the National Consensus Forum, I would like to thank President Ruto for accepting the request of President Salva Kiir Mayardit to mediate between the government of South Sudan and the opposition. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, South Sudan has been at war and conflict with itself for almost all the time since its independence. South Sudanese have fought, displaced and killed themselves. Since 2013, they have negotiated and signed agreements under the IGAD mediation. They have also negotiated and signed several documents in Rome under the mediation of Sant'Egidio community. All these agreements have not ushered South Sudan into peace and good governance. All the transitions and the transitional governments have failed to take South Sudan into peace. Today, South Sudan is threatened with disintegration and collapse into chaos and disorder. It is gripped by multiple crises. The country suffers from a constitutional crisis. It is governed by constitutional by interim constitutions and presidential decrees, the process for the people of South Sudan to make and adopt their permanent constitution is stalled. This is a crisis. The country is also in a political crisis with a dysfunctional government unable to deliver peace and services to its people, or to return the power to the people to elect their governments in free, peaceful, and fair elections. The country is in a severe economic crisis, and the state has been bankrupted. It is incapable to pay its civil servants or make any meaningful development, or even to maintain its diplomatic missions outside the country. To the point that some of its diplomats are evicted and made homeless, like what happened in Rome 2 days ago. Our country is suffering probably the worst humanitarian crisis in our history. More than 75% of our population are in danger of starvation and hunger. For them to survive, they need humanitarian assistance in the world that is also changing and becoming more difficult today. South Sudan is in another crisis. Probably it is among the first countries that have become victim of climate change. We have been having floods for the last 5 years, and large territory of South Sudan is under floods continuously for the last 5 years, while other areas are suffering drought, disrupting our subsistence agriculture and causing food insecurity. With also a lot of waves, heat waves that are disrupting the normal life of our people. The social fabric of our society is torn and destroyed. Communities are divided and are made to fight among themselves. South Sudan is engulfed in conflict and violence among our communities. All these crises need South Sudanese to put their heads together, to dialogue and find solutions. This is the only best way for us to respond to your initiative and that of the region and the international community. Engaging in national dialogue and building national consensus and agreeing to a new social contract is what is required. But for us to achieve this, I believe, and with this initiative, which is the Hope Initiative, Tumaini Initiative, to give hope to our people, we need to leave the mindset of conflict. We need to stop seeing ourselves as enemies. We are brothers and sisters. President Kiir, we are brothers and sisters. As the present generation of South Sudanese, we are the founding mothers and fathers of this new nation. Our historical task is to lay the foundation of this new nation. This is really our historical task after independence. And to achieve that, we have to engage in dialogue, we have to be positive, we have to overcome this hatred that has filled our hearts. This is not time for that, especially now that the world is changing and there are many crises that are even coming up beyond the one that we have created ourselves. I believe this is our last opportunity. And we must take this seriously and engage in dialogue, and it must be an inclusive dialogue. What we need is not another peace agreement. Peace agreements are not being implemented. What we need is a serious dialogue, a real soul search, so that we can really address the root causes and come out with a new social contract that will define what type of a state we want to have, that will define what type of a nation we are and how do we manage our affairs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, Your Excellency. His Excellency Paganamum was speaking on behalf of the entire group, General Paul Malong of the South Sudan United Front, Stephen Boy of the South Sudan People's Movement, and Mario Jada of the National Salvation Front Revolutionary Command Council, amongst others. It is my pleasure, Your Excellency, to invite the leader of delegation of the government mediation team, Honorable Albino, to share a few words. Thank you very much.
To our host, Your Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya. To His Excellency, General Salva Kiir Mayardit, the President of the Republic of South Sudan. To all head of the state present, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. From the onset, allowed me to thank the President of the Republic of South Sudan, His Excellency General Salva Kiir Mayardit, for entrusting us, the delegation of the Transitional Government of National Unity, to negotiate with the opposition and the whole out group in a very good faith. As the head of the government delegation, I take this opportunity to reassure Your Excellency that we are determined to do our best to openly negotiate in accordance with your guidance in order to bring the lasting peace to our beloved country. Your Excellencies, may I report that in the last 1 week, we have been engaged in pre-mediation consultation, and we have listened to our brother presentation on the various concerns and position from our brothers and sisters from the opposition group. I am confident that with the help with the mediator, we will reach an agreement. Lastly, I wish to assure my brothers and sisters from the opposition group that my delegation and I, we will openly negotiate in a good faith and abide by the guidance of His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit to ensure that the Nairobi peace process give a birth to the lasting peace in the Republic of South Sudan. And on a personal level, to His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, you really mean well for the people of Africa, and you really mean well for the people of South Sudan. You are a gift to the people of Kenya. Thank you very much. God bless South Sudan, and God bless Kenya.
Your Excellency, you entrusted the leadership of this process to two men, General Sumbeiwa and Ambassador Guyo. It is my pleasure to invite General Sumbeiwa just to share with you where we are. General Sumbeiwa, please. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, Your Excellency, President Salva Kiir Mayardit, President of the Republic of South Sudan, Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, representatives of the UN agencies, members of the diplomatic corps, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the High-Level Mediation for South Sudan, I wish to take the opportunity to thank His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Ruto, for convening this important occasion to launch the South Sudanese peace process, to which you appointed me a month ago as a chief mediator. The presence of both regional and international partners who have previously worked with South Sudan in search for peace is a testament of their unwavering commitment towards this goal. The mediation in the last month has been able to widely consult with the parties to ensure that we build a foundation of an inclusive process. After this launch, we plan to engage in a sustained and continuous mediation to find and to ensure speedy and comprehensive resolution of the issues, so long as the parties go along with the plan. I would like to take this opportunity to urge the parties to negotiate in good faith and in the spirit of humanity to realize the objective of peace. This mediation affords the parties an important opportunity to silence the guns, which goes a long way to alleviating lives and livelihoods. In view of this, we appeal to the leadership of the parties in the negotiations to mandate their representatives to fully engage on issues and make decisions in the best interest of the people of South Sudan. We have to learn from the past. One of the clear lessons is that implementations of series of agreements on South Sudan has remained a challenge. The question that will concern us and occupy our efforts is to come with a brand new path on implementation. The innovation around a responsive implementation program that is clearly enumerated, costed, and enforceable. I have spent many years with South Sudanese teams. One distinguished mark is what you just saw happen
with the last speaker is that they always refer to each other as brothers. Even in heated debate, notice the language of my brother. This is because they belong to the same mother, South Sudan. Therefore, I wish all the parties and stakeholders a successful mediation. I thank you.
Thank you very much, General Sumbeyo. Your Excellency, it's my humble privilege to invite you to run the rest of the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, my brother Salva Kiir Mayardit, President of South Sudan, Your Excellency Achange Chidora, President of the Central African Republic, Your Excellency President Chakwera, the President of Malawi, Your Excellency Nikano Mbumba, President of Namibia, Your Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, President of Zambia, my friend Russell Dlamini, the Prime Minister of Eswatini, my neighbor Hamza Barre, Prime Minister of Somalia, Vice President Nguema Obiang from Equatorial Guinea, Vice President Prosper of Burundi, the Vice President Slamba Songwane from Botswana, Your Excellencies, ambassadors, representatives of different organizations, ladies and gentlemen. As the first order of business, I wish to pay very special tribute to President Salva Kiir Mayardit, the President of South Sudan, who requested me and Kenya the shepherding, the final phase of South Sudan mediation process. And when I received the letter from President Salva Kiir, I asked my staff to look for one person who was at the center of the comprehensive peace agreement that finally brought independence to South Sudan, and that was General Sumbeyo. General Sumbeyo was the focal point in all the negotiations that went into South Sudan being an independent state. I was lucky that he was still around, retired, at home. And when I asked my staff, they said he's probably writing a book about South Sudan. And I said he should hold on, because there is some work to be done so that he can go and complete his book. I am very confident that General Sumbeyo and the team we have assembled, they understand the people of South Sudan. They have many friends across sides in South Sudan. In fact, at one point, we were told in Kenya there were many children in South Sudan named after General Sumbeyo. And therefore, General Sumbeyo, you have a responsibility, as you have said, to humanity to spearhead this process. President Salva, this demonstrates your deep humility and singular desire to secure stable peace for your motherland. And while we were attending the conference here, and President Salva Kiir walked into the room and he made a statement to my colleagues here, heads of state, and said, "Your Excellencies, I need your help." It was a very, very touching statement. It not only demonstrates humility, it demonstrates a heart of courage and a desire for peace for one's country. This gathering marks a pivotal moment in a historic journey, uniting stakeholders committed to ending conflict and political instability in South Sudan. It represents the culmination of steady progress in mobilizing for peace through dialogue, while also signaling a hopeful step towards effective peacemaking, restoration of tranquility, and resumption of harmony, enabling South Sudanese to focus on the prosperity of their nation. Listening to both the representative of the opposition and the representative of government, and the language of brotherhood therein, gives us hope that there is a chance for us to settle this once and for all. Kenya takes pride in its strong bonds and mutual understanding with the people and nation of South Sudan. These bonds foster solidarity and support, facilitating joint pursuit of security and development. We are alive to our obligation to our brothers and sisters in South Sudan and stand ready to contribute to ending cycles of conflict and instability, allowing this promising nation to achieve the peace and prosperity its people have very long sought and want. This is why we are proud of the Tumaini Initiative, the high-level mediation of South Sudan, bringing together 8 categories of parties and groups. It has made significant progress in defining a mediation framework, developing rules of procedure, and setting the agenda for the process. In the last 1 week, a lot has gone into that process. This initiative exemplifies the Pan-African policy of African solutions to African challenges, contributing to the silencing of guns in Africa initiative and fostering an environment of transformational development in South Sudan, our region, and possibly the entire continent. Tumaini means hope, is grounded on the resolve that delivered the comprehensive peace agreement more than a decade ago. It is fueled by courage, goodwill, and determination to silence the guns and explore better ways of resolving conflict. Under the Tumaini Initiative, we have a forum to honor the people of South Sudan and commemorate their sacrifices, struggles, and hopes by supporting their unanimous aspiration to transform their nation's potential into shared prosperity. I appreciate the nations which have pledged to support this mediation initiative and thank them for investing in hope. I also thank the observer missions, civil society, and other stakeholders for their concern, commitment, and contribution to this initiative. I commend the role played by the reconstituted Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission, the Intergovernmental Authority for Development, and our brothers from St. Egidio. You have done a commendable job. When I came to your office, you agreed to be part of this process because you too have a history with South Sudan. I encourage the revitalized transition government of national unity, the real SPLM, and the South Sudanese United Front to stay the course and redouble their commitment to this mediation. The path you have chosen is noble, and what you have accomplished so far under this initiative is admirable. Here is your opportunity to design a future worthy of all of you. and all the visions you have. I take this opportunity to welcome all delegates from South Sudan to Kenya and encourage you to feel at home, because indeed it is home. I also wish the parties successful mediation, and to our partners, I urge you to work with us all the way until we settle this. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. Before I conclude my remarks, we have in our midst friends and leaders who mean well for South Sudan and for our region. Among them, let me request our chair of AU. I know I did not warn him, but because he represents our continent, let me ask Mohamed Faki Mahamat, our chair of Africa Union Commission, to make very brief remarks by way of encouragement to the parties to this mediation. Mr. Chairman, Your Excellency. Okay.
Excellences, Monsieur William Ruto, Président de la République du Kenya, Monsieur le Président Salva Kiir Mayardit, mon grand frère, Président de la République du Sud-Soudan. Je suis heureux de prendre part à cette cérémonie où il est question encore de médiation, de paix et de réconciliation au Soudan du Sud. Mustafa.
Excellency President Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, President Salva Kiir, President of South Sudan, I'm happy to participate in this ceremony, which is again another opportunity of mediation and also for peace and reconciliation in South Sudan.
Comme tous les jeunes Africains, quand j'étais au lycée et à l'université, j'ai soutenu la cause du peuple du Sud-Soudan qui luttait pour sa libération.
I had supported the efforts when South Sudan was militating for its independence, and I was the one who was supporting that movement also.
Quand je suis devenu responsable politique au Tchad, il y a 19 ans, j'étais Premier ministre et j'ai représenté le Tchad ici à Nevacha pour la signature de l'accord de paix politique. Il y a 19 ans.
In fact, when I took up office as a leader in Chad, that was some 19 years ago, and I was the Prime Minister of Chad, and I represented Chad here when the Naivasha peace agreement was negotiated and signed.
En 2015, j'étais ministre des Affaires étrangères du Tchad. J'ai pris part aux négociations et à la signature de l'accord entre les parties sud-soudanaises.
In 2015, when I became the foreign minister of my country, I also participated in the negotiations and also the signing of the agreement between the Sudanese parties, the South Sudanese parties.
En 2018, comme président de la Commission de l'Union africaine, j'ai pris part également à l'accord, le dernier, l'accord de 2018, toujours pour la paix au Soudan du Sud.
In 2018, when I became the chairperson of the African Union Commission, I also participated in the negotiations and also the signing of this 2018 agreement, again, for peace in South Sudan.
J'ai eu la chance également d'assister le jour de l'indépendance du Soudan du Sud en juillet 2011.
I also had the opportunity of attending the celebration of the independence of South Sudan in July 2011.
Sincèrement, je me demande en tant qu'Africain, pas seulement en tant que responsable, pourquoi mes frères au Sud-Soudan se battent encore.
Sincerely, I ask myself, not only as an African or a leader, why our brothers of South Sudan are still fighting.
Est-ce que c'est seulement pour tous devenir président? C'est impossible.
Are we fighting for all of us to become president? It is not possible.
Qui ont lutté ensemble pour arracher leur indépendance et qui seulement quelques années après mettent à feu et à sang le pays qu'ils ont conquis.
Those who have fought together in order to achieve their independence, how a few years later they have put their own country in that kind of situation where they are fighting.
J'ai beaucoup discuté avec mon grand frère, le président Salva Kiir. J'ai discuté avec le docteur Riek Machar. J'ai discuté avec Bagana Moon. J'ai discuté avec Dengalor. J'ai discuté avec tous ses frères. La contradiction est peut-être superficielle. S'il vous plaît. Je crois que vous êtes la première génération qui a fondé ce pays. Le pape vous a lavé même les pieds, Monsieur le Président, vous et votre frère Riek Machar. Qu'est-ce que vous allez répondre demain à Dieu? C'est la question qu'il faut vous poser. Saint-Égidio est là pour vous aider peut-être à revenir à la sagesse. Permettez-moi ça, je l'ai dit en frère.
In fact, I've had the opportunity of discuss at length with my elder brother, President Salva Kiir. I had the opportunity of discussing with Riek Machar, with Begakum, with Deng Alom.
Deng Alor, Bagana Moon, and others.
And what I've noted was that there is only superficial contradiction or differences between them. In fact, Mr. President, you will recall that even the Pope has washed your feet and asked for reconciliation. So the question is, how can we help you to bring about wisdom and then bring about the solution to the problem?
J'espère que cette fois-ci sera la dernière. C'est le souhait de tout le monde. Et je crois que vous avez tout expérimenté, et la guerre, et la souffrance. Il est temps, il est grand temps de faire la paix. Que Dieu vous aide, que Dieu nous aide. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
In fact, this meeting, or this is a hope maybe of a last chance. You have witnessed and gone through everything. War, suffering, and all the difficulties that you've gone through. What we want is to see peace be established, be restored, and we pray God help you in this process. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. On behalf of the heads of state present here, let me request my brother HH, the President of Zambia, to make very few remarks, and then in conclusion, President Achange to also make very few remarks, and then we will conclude. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, President Ruto, President of Kenya, Republic of Kenya, President Salva Kiir, our brother, leader of Southern Sudan, and my fellow heads of states that are here, and I know prime ministers, senior ministers that are present, and partners. I use that term deliberately, partners from an array of groups that are working to bring peace, security, stability to Southern Sudan. President Ruto, congratulations for hosting this important process, but also to President Salva Kiir for allowing this process to take place. Some colleagues would have probably resisted that this process does not continue. I have no special message to give President Ruto other than to encourage the participants to this process, to encourage participants to come to the table in a genuine manner, in a well-meaning manner, and also to have within them a high level of tolerance. Irritations will always be there in a process like this, but it's important to be accommodative, to understand that there is no option to a peace process. There is none. In today's world, no one really wins a war. That's the truth. No one really wins the war. You may win a battle, but the war continues. Children are born, and instead of children going to school, they are preparing to fight a brother, a sister. I think that's not correct in our countries, on our continent. No one carries everything they come to the table when they leave the table. Give and take. That's the meaning of negotiations. Give and take. If you come to the table to take, you don't come into dialogue. You're coming to put fuel to the conflict. I'm talking generically. I have no specific reference point. All I know is that we're all delighted on the continent when Southern Sudan gained its independence. We understand the history, not as deep as the Southern Sudanese do understand it, not as deep as the other Sudan understands, not even as deep as Kenyans, Ugandans, Ethiopians, those in the region. But we on the Southern African part of the continent followed these processes, and we're looking forward to cessation of hostilities in the wider Sudan once independence was gained. We did not budget for what is going on in Sudan. And I think it was the right thing to do. We budgeted for peace, security, stability, for development. Simple. Peace, security, stability, for development. Resources are limited. The resource envelope is small for anyone, any country. How we utilize those resources must not be towards waging war, but towards building schools, health centers, food security, which we've been discussing. That's where the resource envelope must go. I really believe, President Ruto, you singled me out, so you know my mind, and I will rest with that said publicly. Instability anywhere is instability everywhere. We know it. We're all affected by the Russia-Ukraine war. So when you Southern Sudanese brothers and sisters are fighting, remember you are exporting problems to all of us. We would like to be part of the solution to help you restore stability and focus your attention on development. President Ruto, thank you very much. Thank you. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, President Todere from Central African Republic. Yes.
Excellence, Monsieur le Président Ruto, mon cher grand frère, le Président Salva Kiir, mes chers frères, je voudrais vous remercier le Président Ruto de l'opportunité qui m'est donnée de parler un peu sur la situation de discussion au Sud-Soudan. Vous comprenez que le Sud-Soudan et la République centrafricaine sont des pays voisins. Et aujourd'hui, la paix en République centrafricaine est aussi conditionnée par la paix au Sud-Soudan. Donc, le peuple centrafricain a également le regard tourné vers ses frères du Sud-Soudan. Et je suis heureux d'écouter les deux partis, l'opposition et le représentant du gouvernement, dans leur...
Excellency President William Ruto, Excellency Big Brother President Salva Kiir, I would like to thank President Ruto for giving me this opportunity to say a few words on this situation obtaining in South Sudan and the discussions about South Sudan. In fact, we understand that South Sudan and the Central African Republic are neighbors, and things happening in South Sudan will obviously spill over and affect the Central African Republic and the neighboring countries. Today, if there is no peace in South Sudan, it also affects the peace in the Central African Republic. So all our eyes are also glued to, fixed on the brothers and sisters in South Sudan. And obviously I was very happy to hear the two parties, that is the representative of the government as well as the representative of opposition, when they made their statements.
Je pense que la parole de Dieu dans Ecclésiaste dit il y a un temps pour tout. Il y a un temps pour faire la guerre, il y a aussi un temps pour faire la paix.
There is a time for everything. A time when you have been disagreeing and a time when you can make peace.
En les écoutant, je pense que j'ai fort espoir que le temps de paix est arrivé pour nos frères du Sud-Soudan, pour nous également, parce que cette paix au Sud-Soudan va conditionner la paix en République centrafricaine. Je les y encourage et je remercie aussi tous nos amis de Saint-Étidio pour tous les efforts qu'ils font, aussi bien en République centrafricaine qu'au Sud-Soudan pour le retour de la paix, et je vous remercie de l'opportunité que vous me donnez pour parler de la réconciliation au Sud-Soudan. Je vous remercie.
In fact, we've been listening to a message of hope that is there today in South Sudan. And peace in South Sudan will mean that there will be peace in the Central African Republic. So therefore, I would like to encourage all the parties. I would like to encourage also the Friends of St. Isidio community for making the necessary efforts to restore peace in South Sudan. I would like to thank you, Mr. President, for giving the opportunity to say a few words about this situation.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, you will forgive me for ambushing you, but the comments you have made look to me that you are prepared. To all of us who are here, let me say thank you very much for your participation. To the mediation teams, may wisdom, patience, and discretion guide your contributions to the mediation. I trust the chief mediator and his deputy to lead us towards a satisfactory conclusion with your participation. I pledge my unwavering commitment and availability to support this process at any stage of the mediation roadmap. Our goal is to secure a credible pathway to durable and sustainable peace for the Republic of South Sudan, our region, and our continent. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to request His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit, the President of South Sudan, to come and make the closing remarks and to speak to us and his people. Mr. President.
Your Excellency, William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, the chairperson is the chairperson of the Nairobi peace talks. members of the non-secondary groups, distinguished heads of state and government, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would like to thank my brother, His Excellency President William Ruto, for accepting the role of resolving the South Sudan conflict through a mediation effort led by Kenya. The Nairobi peace process led by Kenya helped negotiate the comprehensive peace agreement which ended Africa's longest conflict. That peace led to the independence of the Republic of South Sudan at the end of the interim period in 2011. I am confident that these efforts will yield a similar result as the country prepares for the general election this year. Your Excellency, the peace negotiations I am opening today between the government of South Sudan and the whole-out opposition groups started in Rome 5 years ago under the Santo Egidio community. I must thank His Holiness Pope Francis and the Santo Egidio community for their efforts in trying to resolve the conflict in South Sudan. The current mediation effort led by Kenya will be anchored on a firm foundation laid by the Rome peace process. Your Excellency, South Sudan has some to negotiate in good faith and with an open mind. We hope that the non-secretaries opposition groups have a similar conviction and desire for peace in South Sudan, which when fully achieved, will bring everlasting stability and economic development in the region, and leave alone South Sudan, but in the region where South Sudan is situated. Thank you very much.
And with that, we will request to have a photo opportunity. So kindly allow me to invite all the heads of state to just come and take a photo together with the mediators and the Chair AU, His Excellency Musa Faki, General Paul Malong, General Stephen Buya, Mario Jada, Lieutenant General Sobeiwa, and Ambassador Guyo to kindly just come on stage, then we can take a photo. Are we good, photographers? And to signify that process having begun, we'll request that we take our positions back where we were. Let's be all upstanding. We're going to have the South Sudan anthem play as a cue and a... Just hold, I'll cue you for the anthem. We'll start with the South Sudan anthem, and then to close the session, we'll finish with the Kenyan anthem. So we'll start with the South Sudan anthem shortly. Let's have the South Sudan anthem. And to wrap it all up, we'll finish with the Kenyan anthem. The Kenyan anthem. Thank you, Your Excellencies. Will allow to leave at your own pleasure.